Welcome back to another timely word. I have to be honest with you. Looking at the stack of notes we have for today, I felt a little attacked.
Attacked. That's a strong way to start.
Well, maybe exposed is the better word. We're talking about a specific kind of spiritual frustration today that I think is incredibly common, but, nobody really wants to admit to it. It's that feeling of knowing all the right things. You know the doctrine, you know about the cross, you know you're forgiven, but your actual day-to-day experience feels dry.
It feels mechanical, like the gears are grinding, but the car isn't actually moving forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there was this analogy in the reading that just floored me. It described this state as being stuck at the sink, washing your hands for dinner. You're scrubbing, getting the dirt off, drying them.
And then you turn to leave and you think you see another spot.
Yes. So you go back to scrubbing.
And the real tragedy is you never actually walk into the dining room to eat the dinner that's been prepared.
Right? You spend your whole life in the mudroom. And I think for a lot of us, especially with how chaotic the world is right now, the news cycle, all the pressure, we treat our faith like that sink. We just want to get clean enough to survive another day.
That is a perfect description of what we might call the outer court mentality. And today we're going to try to break that cycle. Because the blueprint we have, stretching from Mark's gospel all the way back to Exodus, it suggests we might have been reading the map completely wrong.
So let's set the scene. One of our main points of reference is Mark chapter 11. And usually when people talk about this chapter, they focus on Jesus getting angry and, flipping tables.
Right, the righteous anger passage. It's very famous.
It is.
Yeah.
But if we want to understand why he's angry, we have to look at the atmosphere.
Yes. Let's just try to imagine it. If you close your eyes for a second and picture yourself standing in the temple courts in Jerusalem, what do you hear?
I just imagine it's loud. Really loud.
Deafening.
Yeah.
You have the bleating of sheep. You have the cooing of thousands of doves crammed into cages.
And the people.
Oh, the people. Money changers, shouting exchange rates, coins clinking on tables, people haggling over the price of a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And the smell. It smells like livestock and dust and unwashed bodies.
And this was all technically religious work.
Exactly. These people were there to facilitate worship, but Jesus calls it a den of robbers.
It sounds less like a house of prayer and more like the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
That's it. It's chaotic, it's busy, and importantly, it is filled with leaves. Just before this, Jesus curses a fig tree because it had all the leaves, but no fruit. The temple court was the same. Lots of activity, lots of noise, lots of doing stuff for God.
But no actual...
No actual contact with God, no fruit.
That really hits home. Because if I'm honest, my own life can feel like that, or even just my social media feed. It's full of people arguing about theology or posting Christian takes on the news or just busy work. It's loud, it's heated, but it feels empty.
That is the outer court. And if you stay there, you will burn out. You will be that tree with leaves and no figs.
So if that's the trap, this noisy religious treadmill, how do we get off? What's the map to that quiet center you mentioned?
Well, to find the exit, we have to look at a really ancient blueprint. We need to go back to the tabernacle.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Because I know we have to cover this. But when I see tabernacle measurements in a Bible reading plan, my eyes just glaze over.
Yes, I get it.
It feels like reading an instruction manual for IKEA furniture, but in ancient Hebrew, 50 loops on the blue curtain. Why does this matter to me today?
I completely get that. It feels archaic. But you have to shift your perspective. This isn't a history lesson about a tent. This is a topographical map of your internal being.
Yeah.
This is a diagram of how you actually function spiritually.
Okay, convince me. If I'm that guy stuck at the sink washing his hands, where am I on this map?
You are in the outer court. The tabernacle compound was a big rectangular enclosure. The moment you walk through that main gate, you hit the very first piece of furniture. The altar of burnt offering.
The altar? That's a symbol of the cross, right?
Yeah, correct. It's big. It's made of brass. It involves fire and blood. It's where judgment happens. It's where sin is dealt with. And right next to it is the laver, the wash basin.
The sink.
The sink. Now, conventional wisdom, the way most of us live our Christian life, is this. You mess up. You feel guilty. You go to the altar to confess. You wash up at the laver. You promise you'll do better next time.
And then you go back out into your life, you inevitably fail, and you come right back to the altar.
Sin, confess, wash, repeat. You are doing laps in the courtyard. And just think about the environment there. You're outside, it's hot, it's dusty, the sun is beating down on you.
And you're focused on yourself.
Completely. What are you focused on?
My dirt. My failure. Did I get clean enough this time? Am I good enough yet?
You are hyper-focused on the self. It reminds me of the disciples in Mark chapter 9. They are physically walking next to Jesus. The Son of God is right there. But what are they talking about?
They're arguing about which one of them is the greatest.
Exactly. Well, I'm better than Peter. Why does James get to sit there? They are physically close to Jesus, but their mindset is completely in the outer court. They're obsessed with self-ranking and self-improvement.
It sounds exhausting just talking about it, but
Yeah.
isn't that the point? Aren't we supposed to try to be better? I mean, we shouldn't just be okay with our flaws.
Well, that brings us to a really fascinating insight from the book of Job. Job was a guy who was obsessed with being righteous. He was the ultimate outer court success story. But when God finally speaks to him in chapter 39, he doesn't give him a list of rules. He starts asking these sarcastic questions about nature.
Oh, I love when God gets sarcastic. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth?
Right. But look at the specific animals he mentions. He talks about the wild ox and the ostrich. He asks Job, "Will the wild ox consent to serve you? Will he spend the night at your manger?"
What's he getting at there? Just that he's big and we're small.
It's so much deeper. He's telling Job, there are things in my creation that are wild and that cannot be tamed by human effort. And spiritually, your flesh, your natural fallen self, is that wild ox.
Oh, wow. So I'm standing at the sink, scrubbing this wild ox, trying to turn it into a house pet.
Precisely. You are trying to domesticate a beast that cannot be domesticated. Conventional wisdom says, try harder, scrub harder. God's perspective says, the ox can't be tamed. It has to be replaced.
Okay, so if I can't scrub the ox clean, what do? I can't just stand at the altar forever.
No. And this is the pivot point of this entire conversation. The solution isn't to wash more. The solution is to realize that the blood was never, ever meant to stay on the altar.
Hold on, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Because I always thought the blood was the finished work. The sacrifice is done.
The sacrifice is absolutely finished, yes. But in the picture of the tabernacle, specifically on the Day of Atonement in Leviticus 16, the blood went on a journey. The high priest didn't just kill the animal and leave it there. He caught the blood in a basin, and he started walking.
Walking where?
He walked past the laver. He didn't stop to wash. He walked through the first veil into the holy place, and then he went behind the second, much more intimidating veil into the Holy of Holies.
He took the blood into the house.
He took the blood from the dusty, noisy, sun-baked courtyard into the silent, perfect presence of God. See, God didn't just want a clean courtyard. He wanted a dwelling place. He wanted a meeting. And that meeting doesn't happen at the altar of judgment. It happens at the ark.
Let's talk about the ark, because for most people, that's just the golden box from Indiana Jones that melts your face off if you look at it.
Well, the melting faces part isn't totally wrong when it comes to God's holiness, but let's look at its construction. It's a box made of acacia wood overlaid with pure gold.
Wood and gold. We see that combination a lot in these pictures.
It's vital. Wood represents humanity. It grows from the earth. It's perishable. Gold represents divinity. It's eternal, glorious. So the ark is a picture of the God-man Christ. But the most critical part for our discussion today is the lid.
A lid.
In Exodus 25, this lid is called the propitiatory cover.
That is a serious theological mouthful. Propitiatory. Break that down for us.
Okay, so it comes from the Greek word hilasterion. Most Bibles translate this as mercy seat. And that's a beautiful poetic phrase. It implies a place where God's mercy sits.
Right.
But hilasterion is much more active than that. It means the place of propitiation.
Okay, but propitiation is also a $10 word. What does it mean?
Think of it like a transaction. Propitiation means satisfying a very specific demand so that two parties who are estranged can meet peacefully. It's the specific location where the debt is settled so the relationship can be restored.
So it's not just a piece of furniture. It's a negotiation table, a meeting place.
The meeting place, exactly. And think about what is inside the box directly under that lid.
The 10 Commandments. The law.
Right. And what does the law do to people like us who are struggling with our inner wild ox?
It condemns us. It just points out every single failure.
Exactly. If that lid were open and we looked in, the law would demand our death. But the cover is placed over the law, and on top of that cover are the cherubim.
The golden angels.
Yes. And in Scripture, cherubim always signify God's glory. And notice the description in Exodus. They are looking down.
So you have God's intense holy glory looking down.
Yeah.
Right at the law that condemns me.
That is the crisis. Glory looking at sin. That should be an explosion. That should be judgment.
So what prevents the explosion?
The blood. The high priest took that blood from the outer court and he sprinkled it right there on the lid between the law and the glory, right under the gaze of the cherubim.
So when the glory looks down, it doesn't see the broken law.
It sees the blood.
It sees the blood. Wow.
That is the hilasterion. That is the intersection. And this is why Exodus 25.22 is maybe the key verse for us today. And I will meet with you there, not in the courtyard, not by the sink, there, in the midst of the glory, under the covering of the blood.
That completely changes the vibe of the whole interaction. In the courtyard, I'm focused on my washing, my dirt, my performance. But at the ark, I'm focused on his blood and his glory.
You have bypassed the self entirely. And notice the atmosphere shift. The outer court was natural light sunlight. It was hot, dusty, noisy. But the Holy of Holies, it has no windows. It's a thick tent. It's completely shut off from the natural world.
So it's just pitch black in there.
No. It is illuminated by the glory of God shining from all that gold. It's a supernatural light.
That sounds so quiet.
It is quiet. It is a shining meeting place. This really signifies the triune God at work. You have the Father as the hidden source of glory, the Son as the ark and the blood, and the Spirit as that shining atmosphere. Sure. To meet there is to step out of the noisy arguments of your mind and into the quiet sphere of the Spirit.
I love that image, stepping out of the noise. But I'm going to be the practical skeptic for a second.
Please do.
Okay. So I've moved from the noisy altar to this quiet, shining ark. I'm standing there. I'm safe. But what do I do? Do I just stand there and tremble?
That brings us to the hope. And this is the part that I think answers that dryness we talked about at the very beginning. God doesn't just want to meet you. He wants to feed you.
Finally, we get to leave the sink and actually eat dinner.
Yes. Once you are inside the tabernacle, you are in the presence of the table of the bread of the presence. And the reading makes a distinction here that is absolutely crucial. We have to understand the difference between manna and the bread at the table.
Always kind of lump them together. Bread from heaven, right?
They are both bread from heaven, but they are for totally different purposes. Manna is found in the wilderness. It's on the ground. You have to go out and pick it up every single morning.
It's survival food?
Exactly. It just keeps you alive in the desert. And everyone eats it. Men, women, children, even the mixed multitude who are complaining all the time. It's God's general grace to just get you through the day.
That sounds like my morning commute prayer. Lord, please give me just enough patience not to lose it in this traffic. That's manna.
That is absolutely manna, and God provides it. He's so gracious. But manna is for survival. The bread of the presence is different. It is arranged on a golden table inside the holy place. It isn't a daily ration. It's a weekly supply. And most importantly, it is eaten for service. It gives the priest the strength they need to minister to God. See, manna is about you surviving your life. The table is about God getting his administration and purpose accomplished through you.
That is a huge aha moment for me. I think a lot of us feel stuck because we're just trying to survive on manna. We're in gig economy mode with God, just scraping by day to day.
That's surviving in the wilderness. And look, if you're spiritually drowning, grab the manna. But God's hope is to move us from surviving in the wilderness to serving in the sanctuary. When we meet God at the ark at Christ, Christ becomes a feast to us. We aren't just forgiven, we are nourished for a divine purpose.
And there's a note here about the community aspect of this. You can go pick up manna by yourself, right?
Right. You can be a Lone Ranger Christian with manna. You can grab your verse of the day and go about your business, but the table is within the tabernacle. The tabernacle is a building, it's boards fitted together. You cannot enjoy this level of supply in isolation. It is enjoyed among the built-up saints.
So if you're trying to go deeper into God, but you're refusing to actually connect with other believers,
you will be stuck in the wilderness. You might get manna, but you will miss the feast at the table.
Okay, this all sounds beautiful. The quiet, the gold, the bread. But let's land the plane. I live in the 21st century. My phone is blowing up with notifications. I can't physically walk into a tent in the Middle East. How do I enter this room right now, today?
The geography has changed, but the reality has not. The key is in Revelation 1.10. John says, I was in spirit on the Lord's day.
In spirit. We hear that phrase a lot in church circles. What does it actually mean in practice?
Well, sometimes it helps to look at the opposite. Look at Job again. Job and his 3 friends spent 35 chapters arguing. They were debating theology, cause and effect, right and wrong.
They were in their heads.
They were in their minds. And the mind is often just another version of the outer court. It's noisy, it's argumentative, it's always trying to figure God out. To enter the Holy of Holies today is to turn the knob from the mind to the spirit.
That feels like changing the frequency on a radio. How do we know which station we're on?
There is a very practical test for this, and it's found in Mark 9:50. Jesus says, "Have salt in yourselves and be at peace with one another."
Peace is the test.
Peace is the proof of location. Remember the disciples arguing about who was greatest? That's the mind. That's the outer court. There is no peace there. When you truly enter the Spirit, the arguing stops. You are salted.
Salted. That sounds a little uncomfortable.
In this context, it's the preserving power of grace. It kills the germs of that wild ox. If you are judging others, forbidding people because they aren't one of us, like the disciples did in that chapter, or if you're feeling superior, you are not in the Holy of Holies. You're back outside in the dust.
So if I'm sitting here having a mental argument with my boss, or scrolling through the news feeling angry and self-righteous,
You are outside. You are looking at leaves, not fruit.
and if I just stop that argument and turn my heart to the Lord,
You are moving inside. If you are at the Hilasterion, the place of propitiation, there is no argument. There is only the blood, the glory, and the shining.
I like how simple that test is. So if I realize I'm outside, if I'm stuck at the sink arguing with myself, how do I pray to get in?
You stop looking at your own leaves, your own works, good or bad. You stop trying to scrub that wild ox. You can pray something as simple as this. Lord, I come forward to the throne of grace. I'm not looking at my failures today, and I'm not looking at my successes. I am looking at the blood on the mercy seat.
You just use the blood as your ticket.
It is the only ticket that is valid for entry. You bypass the self-analysis entirely, and you just look at the blood under the glory. That is where God meets you. That is where the feast is.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We started with that dry, stuck feeling, constantly washing up, but never actually eating.
The outer court syndrome.
And we realized that the blood wasn't meant to just clean us up so we could stand around outside. It was the vehicle to bring us in.
From the dusty altar to the glowing ark. From surviving on manna to feasting at the table. It really is a completely different way to view the Christian life. It shifts everything from duty to enjoyment.
Before we wrap up, I know you always like to leave us with a little something extra, a provocative thought to chew on.
Well, since we've been talking so much about the ark and the Christ it represents, there is a mystery hidden in its measurements that I think is worth pondering.
Oh, I like a mystery.
If you go back to Exodus 25 and look at the dimensions of the ark, they're very specific. It's 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, 1.5 cubits high.
Okay, lots of halves.
Exactly. They are all half numbers. In the Bible, a whole number usually signifies completeness. A half implies an incomplete unit. It implies a kind of jagged edge that is waiting for a missing counterpart.
Wait, so if the ark is a picture of Christ,
Yeah.
you're saying his measurements are incomplete?
I'm saying that perhaps he is constructed in such a way that he is designed to fit perfectly into something else, or rather that he is waiting for a counterpart to match those dimensions and make him whole.
A counterpart, like a bride.
The church. But that is a story for the next timely word.
I love that. A jagged edge waiting for a connection. That is a
Ah.
perfect place to pause. Thank you so much for taking us through the map today. I think it's time we all stop washing our hands and went in for dinner.
See you in the Holy of Holies.
Until next time.